Hi, everybody. I am so happy to see all of you here. I see some new faces, I see some familiar faces, and I'm really excited about just being here today with all of you. So thank you for being here and sharing your Sunday morning with me. If it's morning or afternoon, some of you are getting into your evening time right now. I would like to start out by first saying I'm Dakota. Nice to meet you. And we're going to do a little cleansing today with Palo Santo. So I want you to imagine that you can smell this beautiful scent, the sweet aroma of this South American piece of wood. And we're just going to use it to cleanse us and bring us more present, to allow ourselves to be here fully and to be with each other in community and in circle, and that we give gratitude for our ability to be here, that we have the means and the time and the willingness, and that we are each making the choice to uh, take these steps that we are now currently taking on our soul path. We give gratitude for Mother Earth. We give gratitude for all of the sentient beings who are here to help support us in whatever way that we need to be supported. We give gratitude for each other, for the community that we have, even regardless of what country we're in or the borders that separate us, whether it's energetic or physical borders. We give gratitude for technology and that we have this space that we can do this. I give gratitude for my dogs and for their quietness that they're going to exude for the next hour. And I give gratitude that I have access to Palo Santo and to fire and to water and to air to breathe. Thank you. Let me first introduce Leanne, who is part of the Team Gaia, and I'm going to make her co-host, and also to Sherry, who is also Team Gaia. Make both of you co-hosts. They will be the ones who will kind of keep tabs on questions in the chat box that I need to take care of, and also muting people if they need to be muted because you have background noise, or unmuting you if you need to be unmuted to ask a question. So some of you who are here are on the mentorship, and I appreciate you guys being here. You guys are like the faithful ones who show up all the time to every teaching that I do, which is beautiful. And also, you know, gratitude to all of you who are here that aren't on the mentorship, that you're sharing the space with us. This is our classroom. This is where we spend every week, every Thursday, we are in this classroom in circle, and we do community time, we do teachings, we do workshops and all that kind of stuff for 9 weeks at a time. And great fun that we have here. And I have to tell you that I'm a little like, I don't know if you can, and it's not just coffee that I've had, but I have like this energy amped up in me. And I know what it is because when I get ready to teach things like this, being in front, I could be in front of 500 people. That does not bother me at all. But sometimes when I'm getting ready to teach, I'll have this download, and it happened this morning. And because quite frankly, I don't really always plan what I'm going to teach, because I teach better if I just speak from my heart and from the wisdom and knowledge that I've gained over the years. But if I plot something out, I never follow it because it doesn't feel organic to me. And this morning I woke up, and one of my rituals that I do, and partly it's because I have a dog that will not allow me to do anything different than this, is that I wake up every morning at 7 o'clock and I put on clothes, and then I walk outside, and I have a park within a half a block from me, and we walk through the park, and I commune with the trees and the other animals that are there, squirrels especially, because Navi pulls me towards every single one of them. And we spend the first half hour of every morning walking in the park, and that's what I do. That's how I start my day, is out in nature. And there's a pond there with ducks and geese and all this stuff. So I was walking in the park this morning, and I was thinking about this call, and it started to download to me this story. And so I've been writing this story up until literally 8 minutes ago. I was still writing it at 10:59 or 11, yeah, 10:59. And I just felt like I was channeling one of your stories. I don't know who it is on this call or who's going to watch the replay, and it may be several of you, but I was just in tears. It was like, wow, this is really, I mean, the work that I do, is to teach people how to really come into their power and to live that life more fully and to be unapologetic for who you are and how you show up in this world and to really harness the beauty of the dreams that you once had and to give life, breathe life back into them. And that's actually what we do in the East direction is we reinvigorate those dreams that we've had as kids or as young adults, and we breathe life back into them. And so I know the stories of a lot of people who come to the mentorship and how that path kind of got askew along the way. And so I'm writing this story and I'm thinking, wow, this could be anybody's story, but this is somebody's story, and it could be your story, or you could see yourself in parts of this. And I think what I realized in writing it this morning, and I think because I've always had these little, like I know all this stuff, but I've never sat down and actually wrote just one person's story. And it really allowed me to, I don't know, it cracked my heart open. And I want to cry right now because I think there's so many people that, yeah, Rachel, there's so many people that, mm, that want, whew, they want that life, that, that story that they started out with. I did not expect to get emotional. Um, Sorry. Let's have some water. Um, I think that what the world begs of right now, we talked about this in the first class, yeah, Friday. One of the things that the world needs right now is for people to step up and to really bring back into this space, into this global space, that heart-centered connection, not only to people, but to ourselves. And we lose that along the way. And we lose it in very, very small, what seems to be insignificant ways, but they amount to the cutting of our soul. And it isn't until we make a conscious choice to step into this path where we begin reclaiming those pieces that we've given along the way to other people or to other situations or just buried or let go of. And it just is for me to be here and to see all of you guys to be here and to feel that energy that you have inside of you, that just you just need that prick to your heart and something to just open up those floodgates. The medicine wheel for me is one of those tools where, and in the first class we went through the energies of the medicine wheel. It is such a powerful overlay for being able to really view your life and um, to create for yourself this container where you can start pulling back into your soul those pieces that you've let go. And I'm going to read this story to you because I think today I wanted to share with you the soul archetypes and the emotions that happen in the medicine wheel and how that kind of plays out in our lives. And I think that in this story, it will kind of illuminate that. And then at the end, I'm going to show you kind of what the soul archetype, the energies of the soul archetypes, how they fit into that wheel specifically. And again, I know I'm reading somebody's story here. I don't know whose, but so I do I have anybody on here named Mary? just out of curiosity, because that was the name that came to me. This is Mary's story, whoever Mary is. So as a child, Mary was full of joy. And her favorite things were to play outside until dark. She'd build forts and ride her bike. She played with her best friend and all the neighbor kids. They'd play kickball, softball, hide and seek. And her parents were good parents. They were present. They provided her with everything that she needed. She felt close to her family, and often they would play games together in the evenings. They always had dinner together where they talked about their day and how they felt about it. And sometimes when she was outside playing, she would talk to her imaginary friends, and she swore that she could see fairies in the woods, and she would chase them and bring them gifts and talk to them, and she never ever felt alone or lonely. And she loved, loved, loved going to school and learning. And she did really well in school. Her grades were good. She did her homework. Her teachers all enjoyed having Mary in her class. She would come home with report cards that would say she was a delight to have in class, that she always played well with others, that she made good grades, she listened well. And one of the things that Mary really loved to do, above all else, was to paint. She loved art, and for hours she would create these images from her imagination. She would use every single color available to her, and even mix paints just to make other colors. And sometimes she would make this huge mess, and she'd get lost in time. She'd be creating for hours. And she decided that when she grew up, she wanted to be a painter. She dreamt of being showcased in art museums. She imagined what her art studio would look like, and it would be messy and paints everywhere and brushes, and there'd be these big windows with all this light streaming through. And she would daydream for hours about the paintings that she would see in her head, and she would describe them in the fullest of detail to her very best friend. And her very best friend would close her eyes and see if she could see Mary's paintings just by the words that she used to describe it. And before I go on to Mary's story, I want to share with you that there's the elements of all four soul archetypes in that scenario. The playing outside, the playing kickball, softball, building forts, sacred space, really being out in nature. That's all soul. That's all in the west direction, the alchemist soul archetype. The relationship that she had with her parents and with her best friend and with her teachers, that's all south energy. That's sacred heart warrior, where we build those sacred relationships with each other. And then the imaginary friends, the fairies, the space and being connected to nature, that's all soul shaman up in the north direction. Loving to learn and be in school and daydream and dream about that future, that's all east energy and the visionary soul archetype. And even really that desire to be creative and to be an artist, that's south energy. That creativity is in the south, sacred heart warrior. And so when we grow up, we have all of these soul archetypes that kind of inform who we are. And a lot of times they're very balanced. Even if we have some trauma going on, those elements are usually pretty right on, because we're pulling all these different energies from what we know in the world and where we're connected to inform who we are as a person or who we are becoming. So now let's move on to her later teen years. So Mary was very excited to go to high school and to quote unquote grow up. And her best friend, though, however, moved away. And Mary felt really sad about her leaving. And her mom consoled her and told her, "Honey, don't worry. You'll find new friends." And Mary's sadness, though, was deep. She cared very deeply for her friend who had left. But she mustered up the happy face and started her new days in a new school. And one thing she was really looking forward to was taking art classes. They didn't have that in her previous school. So this was very exciting to Mary, to be able to actually spend a full hour in art class. And on the first day of her art class, her teacher gave the class an assignment to paint a still life of a flower. So Mary, in her very artistic and excited self, pulled out all kinds of colors, and she wanted to paint a flower that had colors that the teacher maybe didn't see before. And her flower would have these oddly shaped petals because they were different. They were from her imagination. And she put designs in the leaves that only Mary could see. And she was very, very proud of her work, and she took it to her teacher very excitedly. And Mrs. Drake took one look at her painting and said, "Mary, I said to paint a flower, a still life, not an abstract. Flowers don't have those designs in the petals. Or those colors. I've never seen those colors in nature in real life. If you want to be an artist and start over, and this time listen to the instructions that I gave you." Mary felt at first very embarrassed that she had not done the work correctly. And then she felt a tremendous amount of sadness. Maybe I really can't be an artist. So in this area, there are a couple things that happen. Mom, who really wanted to console Mary and relieve the pain that she knew that her daughter was feeling, told her, "Don't worry, you'll make new friends," which is, let's gloss over your feelings, let's gloss over your emotions, stuff them down, and just keep moving through. You don't need to linger here in the sadness. We're not taught to linger in sadness. We're taught to get over it in some way. And so little by little, that sacred heart warrior, which is the emotional part of ourselves, begins to shrink. And we stop pulling some emotion from that sacred heart warrior, and we put on that happy face, which is that fake face. And that kind of comes from the east direction, where we muster up the mental energy that it takes to just pull through and not be so emotional. And then the teacher, Mrs. Drake, did the ultimate sin of squashing the artistic side of Mary and taught her creativity fits into this box, and this is what the box should look like. And so Mary begins to take that imagination and that creativity and that artistic side and that sacred heart warrior and close it down. And we could go on with this story, because those will also result then in other scenarios in those high school years. But now we're going to move on to the college years. In college, Mary's dream was to become a painter. That really didn't seem practical any longer. And quote unquote, "You will never make enough money to pay the bills as an artist," her dad would told her. "And besides, we aren't going to pay for your college unless you study something that will put food on your table." So Mary studied business management, and she would make art a hobby on the side. Making friends in college wasn't really easy for Mary. She still missed her best friend, and she never really let herself get close to anyone again like that, because she was afraid that they would leave. That is, until she met Peter. And they began dating, and soon it became much, much deeper. And they were in love with each other. They had a lot of passion. And she felt just so alive when she was around him. And they did everything together. They were inseparable. But then one day, Peter didn't return her call. And he began slowly distancing himself from her until he eventually broke up with her, saying that he had met another girl and couldn't really explain it. And Mary became very, very depressed. She started skipping classes and falling behind. And her roommate one day begged her to come out with her to a party. That will snap her out of it. All you have to do is meet someone else, or, get drunk and forget about him. He's a loser anyway. So she goes to this party, and another, and then another, and then another party, and another party. And pretty soon Mary learned that alcohol made her the life of the party. And she learned that she could drink alcohol, and then it didn't really matter if she was bored in her classes or didn't have a best friend, or that she didn't have Peter. She could be everybody's friend. And then one night at a party, she had just a few 2 drinks, and she was sexually assaulted. She had to ask for it. She didn't know this boy. She hadn't consented, but there it was. She told her parents what happened, and they told her, "Well, you shouldn't have been drinking. You shouldn't have been at that party. You should have been studying." It was her fault for not being sober. She told her roommate what had happened, and her roommate said, "Just get over it. It's college." And that's what boys do. She learned then to be quiet, to not make this a big deal. It probably was her fault. And after all, one night of drinking turned into a drinking of every night to numb herself out. And so in these scenarios, we learn that she dips into the West energy to overindulge in alcohol and to lean into those addictions to cover up the South energy where she didn't want to feel those emotions anymore. She didn't want to feel despondent or depressed or any of the things that were creating that sadness within her. She learned to shut down and to really pull that energy out completely out of the South direction and become deficient there, and then pour all of that energy over into the West direction where it became more about the addiction, and to learn to be quiet, to not communicate, to shut down the East direction where we lean into sacred communication, speaking our truth, and that began to become deficient also. Now, after college, Mary graduated college with average grades. She skimmed by to the end and found a stable, average job that paid a decent amount of money and offered a retirement plan, a 401k, offered insurance, all the things that her parents told her to look for when she was interviewing for a job. She married a guy that she had met later in school. He was kind to her and came from a good family. She loved him enough. And when they decided to have kids, Mary put her career on hold to raise the kids, and her days were then spent doing laundry, cleaning house, getting the kids out the door, making dinner, running errands, and doing the shopping. The kids would come home and throw all of their things all over the place after she had just cleaned it. Her husband would come home from work and ask her what was for dinner. After dinner, he'd plop down in front of the TV and ask her to bring her a beer. And they'd talk about his day and how his work went, how his boss was too demanding and how he was stressed. The kids would share their days, how they had fun at recess and how Billy kicked the ball so hard that it went past the person at second base and she'd be all proud of him and happy. And when they went to sleep at night, Mary and her husband would lie on their sides facing away from one another. He would fall quickly asleep because he was stressed and tired, while Mary would lay awake many, many more hours, sometimes crying and other times watching TV on her phone just to distract her mind. And sometimes he would want to be intimate because it was always on his schedule when he wanted, or at least wasn't too stressed to perform. And it was usually pretty quick, 20 minutes or less, and that was fine by Mary. She hadn't felt the passion in many years and most often was just tired. And so in these scenarios, we learn and can see how that East energy, those dreams of our childhood, her childhood, really began to diminish. And even though her career wasn't her dream, it was hers, and she had to give that up too for her family. And she became the one who gave and gave and gave and gave and gave and gave, and then gave some more. And in the end, no one asked her about her day. No one asked her, what did you do today? What are your dreams still? How do you feel? Where are you? What can I do for you? What do you need? And instead, Mary became the caretaker. She took care of everybody else except for her. And the only moments that she really had that were her were late at night when everybody was asleep and nobody was asking for something. And what did she do? She dipped into the West energy where she watched TV or would secretly have a glass of wine when everybody else was asleep, because she was still trying to tamper down that South energy, that Sacred Heart Warrior. She didn't want that Sacred Heart Warrior to come roaring up and asking for her to look at what she had given up. And then she'd wake up the next morning and she'd do it all over again. And now let's dip into the later years. And this will be, kids are now going to college. They're looking at retirement. They're assessing what have they accumulated in this lifetime that they've shared together since college. They have a house, they have mortgage, they have bills, they have the cars, they have all the expenses, all the trappings. Her husband has a promotion at work that he's looking at, which will mean longer hours. And then one day when Mary is cleaning the house, she unpacked a box that had been sitting in the back of her closet since college. And she pulled it out, and inside she found all of her paints, all the brushes, the canvases. It was all there. It was all still there. And a small prick to her heart. And she sat there on the floor sobbing. And she began remembering who she was before all of this. An artist. She was free-spirited. She was joyful. She was an explorer. She remembered talking to the fairies and the spirits and how she felt when she was in the woods playing. She remembered her best friend and the connection and the love that they shared. She remembered the passion that she had with Peter and how alive that felt. And she remembered how much hope she had before she was told not to have hope. And just like that, one prick to the heart to put her back in the driver's seat of her life. And she made the decision at that moment to not put that box in the back of her closet, to not repack it, to not hide it away anymore, but to pull it out piece by piece and lay it all out on the table and see, what do I have that I gave up? And what do I want to keep? What do I want to blow life back into? What am I going to reclaim as who I am? Yeah, sure, I'm a mother, I'm a wife, I'm a business person, I'm all these little things over here, but who I am a creator. I am an explorer. I am fiercely passionate. I am alive. And I want nothing more than to have all of that once again. My guess is that in some way, many of you saw yourself in that story. And you being here right now today is you unpacking that box and saying, what do I have left? What hope did I give up? What dream did I let go of? Where am I now? Who am I right now? Because what I have surrounding me right now is okay, but there's more. There's a lot more to me than this little box that says a flower should look like this. My flower is colorful, it's wild, it's something nobody's ever seen before. It's got designs, it's got flavor and personality. It's got an aliveness. And that's my flower. Damn it. And it's art. And it's creative and it's beautiful. And it deserves to be in an art museum. It deserves to be seen by everybody in this world. And so when we look at the medicine wheel and we look at all the energies, we start out with this really beautiful conglomeration of balance where you've got all of the soul archetypes, the energies of the medicine wheel that are informing you. And it doesn't always mean that it's fairies and forts and art and all that stuff. We have bicycle accidents. We get hit in the head. We get bad grades. We have parents that yell at us also. We've got these things that also inform us, but it teaches us also the light and the shadow. And if we're given the space to go through the emotions and feel the sadness, yeah, honey, your best friend left. And that is really sad. And you're going to feel sad. And you know what? You need to feel sad because that's a big loss. And yeah, it'll be better later. But right now, feel that sadness. And then let's figure out how to move forward from that. And yeah, Peter left, and that's horrible. And you felt really passionate, and I can feel that connection that you had to him. He's your first love. And you need to feel that loss of that first love. Feel it fully so that you can take that pain and turn it into something really beautiful later. But don't let that shut your heart down. Feel it now so that it doesn't shut your heart down. Don't numb out on alcohol. Feel it. And if you need to channel that energy into your art, then do it. Honey, you are an artist. And you know what? You can figure out any career where you can make that happen. You don't have to go into business if that's not where your passion is. If you are passionate about art, then you will find a way. And I will help you find a way. We need to go to the cops right now. We need to report this sexual assault. This should never have happened to you. I don't care if you were drunk. I don't care if you were naked. I don't care if you even started out saying yes and then you said no. We need to go to the cops. We need to report this, and there needs to be justice, even if the justice is that you report it. In the attempt to take care of everybody else, we sometimes are the ones who also create that imbalance in other people, and we want them to be better. Like, it's okay. Get over it. Because we're uncomfortable with other people's pain. People are also uncomfortable with our pain. And so we're taught very early on to make things better. In the medicine wheel, you have both light and shadow. And both are tremendous teachers. We learn from the pain of life, we learn from the joy of life. We learn from every aspect if we come at it from a very present and open heart way. If we are living from that heart-centered space, then we allow ourselves to have these experiences in our life that are both passionate and joyful, dark and painful, scary and fearful, and we learn everything we can. We squeeze out of every single emotion and every single event every possible ounce of energy and lesson that we can get so that we can add it to that complexity that makes us who we are. We aren't always joyful. Some mornings I wake up and I'm like, damn it, Navi, I don't want to get up right now. I don't want to go for a walk in the 16-degree weather outside and snow and rain, but I do it anyway. Sometimes we do have to do things anyway. But for 5 minutes, I can lay in bed and say, you know what, right now I'm really tired. I'm acknowledging that I'm really tired. I'm acknowledging that my body is really sore. I'm acknowledging that maybe I shouldn't have had that glass of wine last night. Why did I have that glass of wine? What was I checking out from? And I'm present with those dark sides. And I'm learning from it. And that's because I used the medicine wheel. Actually, that's a true scenario that happened today. I had a glass of wine last night that I haven't had wine in, I've had like two, 3 glasses of wine in the last, I don't know, 9 weeks. And last night I had a glass of wine. And this morning I woke up and I did say that to Navi. I said, Navi, I just want to sleep. And I looked at the weather and it was 28 degrees and I thought, well, it's not horrible. But, and then I was thinking, why did I have that glass of wine last night? It was because I was stressed out. I was tired. I have spent the last week tending to a lot of website issues. Elizabeth, you're laughing because you know. Anybody on the mentorship knows I have a really special relationship with Mercury in retrograde. And so I acknowledge that instead of beating myself up and saying, oh, should never have had that wine, I was so stupid. Instead, I acknowledge that, you know what, I deserve a break. Today after class, I'm going to take a break. I'm going to go see my family. I'm going to have some fun. And it's okay that I had a glass of wine last night. And so I bring in those energies of the medicine wheel. It's like, yeah, I dipped over into the west direction, but now today I'm going to dip down into the south direction. I'm going to go and play. I'm going to, you know, commune with my family. I'm going to celebrate some birthdays today. And that's south direction. That's relationship. That's emotion. That's play. And then tomorrow I'm going to dip really heavily into the east direction because I've got the third class here that I'm going to teach, and then I've got more website issues that I need to deal with. I've got an opening enrollment that's going to start happening for the mentorship that happens this week. And so I've got all these things that I have to plan out. And I'm going to dip really far into that West energy or East energy. But I'm going to also pull in West energy because I need some brain food. So I need to plan ahead and create some healthy meals and make sure that I'm not eating um, junk because I have to eat quickly. I'm not going to drink wine. I need to have a clear head. So I'm going to get healthy on the West side. I'm going to walk and move. I'm going to eat healthy. I'm going to drink a lot of water so that it feeds my brain on the east. And then at the same time, I'm going to keep dipping into the south and the north. And that's where I sit in that middle of the medicine wheel and I look exactly at what I need in my life at that given moment. Today, I need um, I need healthy food. I need West. But more than that, right now, today, before I started this class, what I felt like I was doing was I was anticipating the South energy. It came up on me. I wasn't expecting it. I wasn't expecting the emotion. I was expecting to come in here and say, oh, okay, here we go. Here's East direction. We have visionary and have my little whiteboard back here. I've got like this whole thing that I can show you and all this stuff. And instead, what was begging me to pay attention to it was the Sacred Heart Warrior. And that I needed to recognize the part of each of us that has given up that dream or that part of ourselves that we have let go of. And in doing that, I create relationship with you, which is very important to me. I create a space for emotion to happen. And I think that you guys could feel that from me. And that gave you permission to also feel it. I don't have to pretend that I'm not going to cry because I'm the teacher. No, my emotion gives you permission to feel your emotion too. And we all feel it. We're all connected at some level to that feeling. And what I hope is that just in that story, you can see how easy it is to get out of balance or to let other people dictate who you are, or how we lose ourselves over time without even really knowing it or realizing it until we see ourselves in a story like that. And when I am looking at soul archetypes within the medicine wheel, and many of you have taken the soul archetype test, and you came back with, I don't tell you you are a Sacred Heart Warrior. What I do is I give you a percentage of how much energy you have in each one. And the truth is that we have all of those soul archetypes within us. One will be how we lead through our life. But that one that you have on your quiz right now may not be the one that you actually are. Because what happens, and in Mary's story, is that she was very much a Sacred Heart Warrior. She was all about the relationship with her best friend and art and creativity and feeling that passion and feeling that aliveness. That's a Sacred Heart Warrior. That emotional, she leads with her emotional body, that creativity, that imagination. But what happened over time was that she became more of the alchemist or the visionary because she was masking that original birthing soul archetype. So when she was working as a business consultant or whatever she was doing, she was probably working long hours and um, creating the paycheck and making sure that everything, all the dots on the I's and the T's were crossed, and she knew what she was making. She had the 401k, everything was organized. Even when she had her kids and she was at home, there was an organization that was happening. So it was very much a visionary soul archetype because she could live up here in the mental body and disregard anything below the throat, or actually below the chin, because she wasn't speaking her truth. So she became a deficient visionary, or not imbalanced visionary. And imbalance can happen whether you have excess or if you have deficient. And so as she starts to now, in her later years, embark on this journey of finding and discovering who she is now as a result of having given up so many of her dreams and stuff, is that she will probably, and I see this all the time on the mentorship. I know a couple of you already, um, that your soul archetype has changed as you have gone through the directions, because we have begun balancing out that energy. And you started out as a visionary or an alchemist, and now all of a sudden, oh, what? I'm a sacred heart warrior? I'm a soul shaman? I've never been that. But it's because you're balancing out, you're finding out who that core of who you are. Um, and 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 in that tool set that you're getting now, you're learning that you can go through the emotions, you can feed into that intuition, you can live in that imagination or that spiritual body, or you can create sacred space, or you can speak your truth. And then otherwise, there's also this piece where somebody comes in and they're led by the Sacred Heart Warrior, and they start going through this process of balancing, and they discover that they're really a visionary. You know, they love communication. They love to organize and create and dream and envision and bring things to life like an entrepreneur. But they never believed that they had the ability to do that. And so they go down into the south direction, they become codependent. They rely on other people to validate themselves, or they are defined by their relationships. I am so and so's wife. I am so and so's brother. I am so and so's father or mother. And so that definition then they start relating themselves to a sacred heart warrior, when all along they really I want to create my own business. I have this dream of being able to be an artist, or to be a healer, or to be, I want to help people build their own businesses, whatever that might be. So as we go through this work of soul recovery, and soul recovery isn't just taking a journey and finding those lost pieces of our soul, but it's soul recovery happens every single day. How can I be more alive in my soul today? How can I recover a hidden dream or aspect or something that informs me of what my world should look like right now? How can I be more me and not defined by this label over here? And so we uncover that, and we work through that, and we become it. And for many people, and this is what my experience has been in mentorship, is that, and just like Mary's story, it's those later years where we begin, and we're in our alchemist time of our life. The alchemist is in the west direction. The alchemist is that age where we start reflecting back, what happened? Here I am, 45, 50, 55, 65, and yeah, I've got a pension, but do I really want to spend 5 more years working at this job that sucks me dry? And I'll tell you what happens when you, here's how the alchemist really kind of works. And this happened to my sister. And Kim, if you ever watch this, I love you to death. My sister was a school teacher, and she loved, 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 loved teaching, but it was the system that she couldn't stand. And she would often say, I would say, why don't you just, quit? Do something that you really love to do. She's a potter. She loves art. She's always been an artist. She's always painted. She's played with pottery, etc. And but she loved kids, and she loved to build that relationship with them and teach them. And she would say, no, no, I can't. I've got 5 more years until retirement. I got to make it to retirement, or I'll lose my pension. I said, it's just money. I mean, in the end of the all is you having your soul sucked dry and dying as a result of this worth the money? She's like, I just got to get through, 5 more years, 5 more years. Well, you know what happened? She got sick, and she was forced to quit. Um, and that's what happens. The alchemist is the physical body, and if you don't follow those passions and allow yourself to feel those emotions, and you go through your life uh, pushing everything down, not speaking your truth, which is the visionary, not feeling the emotions, not following through on your dreams, then eventually you get sick, because that's what happens. You plant the seed, you nurture it. You plant the seed that I am going to take this job because it's got a 401k, it's got a pension, it's got a retirement. That's just what we do. We create that sense of safety through these illusions. And I'm going to nurture that, because I'm going to keep doing that, and I'm going to keep telling my kids they need to do that, and I need to go to work every day 9 to 5 even if I hate it. So I'm going to nurture that for 45 years. And then when it comes down to the west and you're harvesting, you're going to harvest a sick body, because it has to come out somehow. It will always come out in one way or another. And if you don't deal with it in the east or in the south, it will come out in the physical body. You'll get cancer. You'll get the migraines. Yeah, you'll get you will suddenly lose your job. I had somebody on the mentorship that happened to them recently, and we laughed about it before it happened, because we both knew, and we both said, the universe is going to do it for you if you don't quit the job that you hate and start following the passion that you love. And she lost her job. She got laid off, and now she's being forced to follow her dream. And she's got a really great attitude about it. She's like, thank God. Now I'm going to do it. And so that's, I would imagine, where many of us have been and are and are at that threshold. In shamanism, we talk a lot about thresholds. And this is a big threshold that people come to, is when they come to that west direction and they look back and say, what have I done? Who have I become? And who am I now? And going forward, who am I going to become? And then we go into the north direction, which is the soul shaman, and that forces us to go inward. We go introspective, and we start working with our soul guide, our spirit team, our spirit guides, our power animal, God, source, whatever you want to call it. We reconnect to our higher self, and we just let everything drop. All the labels, all the things that we think we are, and we go into that space naked by ourselves, and we are given an opportunity to look at our soul and say, why did I even come here? Why was I birthed into this lifetime? What was the original seed that Dakota Walker came into this lifetime to birth? And did I do that? Do I still have work that I need to do? If I'm breathing, I do. But then I come out of the north direction with this new idea of, okay, this was why I came here. And I could see parts of it throughout my childhood before it all got shut down. And maybe I got steered off course. Now I have a chance to, now I'm going to come over into the east direction, into the visionary, because we do this cycle all the time. We do it every day. We do it every lifetime. We do it every season. We go through the cycle of the medicine wheel. And so I come back around into the visionary, to the east direction, and I say, okay, now that I've communed with my guides and I know that this is what my soul is here to do, these are the new seeds that I want to plant. This is what I'm going to do going forward. And we begin to plant those seeds and recreate those dreams and those visions and breathe life back into them. And then we go back down into the south direction and we nurture those seeds now. And if you're familiar with the medicine wheel, and hopefully those who are on the mentorship right now, what you're learning to do is that you do this while you're sitting in the middle of the wisdom keeper center of the wheel, where you don't just go into the east and just plant everything. You sit in the center and you plant, nurture, build boundaries to keep that momentum going. Keep informing yourself from the spiritual soul shaman side, north direction. And you keep doing this dance around the wheel as you recreate this external world to match the internal soul that you are. I can't believe I just spoke for 53 minutes straight. I'm so sorry. um, so as we work the medicine wheel, I think one of the most important things that I want to implore, and this is, just in the mentorship, you guys who are getting ready to go into the East direction, is that we don't just stop being in the North and then go into the East. We're going to bring all of that energy from the North, bring it into the East. And for some of you, you've been on the mentorship for, there's a couple of you on here that have been here for 2 years, and you keep doing the mentorship, going round and round, because it keeps getting deeper and deeper and deeper. And so you're bringing into it 8 layers into this next East direction. And it's really important to remember even those beginning moments, because in those beginning is when we're uncovering some of those blocks and realizing, why are we here at this place? And in the second round, you're looking at, now I know why. Now let's really make some significant, huge changes in my life, and let's really do this. And then on your third year, you're really just you're living, breathing the medicine wheel in every step that you take. You're very conscious in your everyday living. You can be in a single moment and actually see the directions at play. And for those of you who are not on the mentorship, you are here in this workshop right here today, and likely you are hearing some things that are very familiar to your soul. And you're wondering, where do I go from here? What do I do next? And we are getting ready to go into the East direction, and that's all about dreams and visions and ideas and planting those seeds. And so I would say, look at your life. And in your external world, is this where you thought you would be? And if it's not, what do you need to change? What would that look like if it changed? If it looked like if you could do anything without fail, what would that look like? And then figure out how to plant those seeds into your life and nurture those going forward. And it takes just awareness in the beginning of being able to see all that kind of stuff. Now, I would be amiss to say that I would love for you to join the mentorship, because I think the mentorship gives the structure and the teachings to be able to do that. And I am really proud of the work that we do in the mentorship. I think that it's a very substantial program, and especially for what you get within the course. And I'm not going to be one to sit here and preach, but there's several on here who are on the mentorship who would probably, I see some of you shaking your head, that it's been life-changing for many of you. So, and that's something that we only open up 4 times a year. And this coming week, actually, we started enrollment last week for the mentorship peeps to re-enroll. But that opens up this week and closes next week. And I'm very adamant about that, because once we close those doors, we put all of our energy into being in that space together, which very much looks like this. So I guess in this class, what I want you to take away is being able to see those soul archetypes within yourself. And if you took the quiz, look at the percentages and say, is this really, if I'm showing up as a visionary, is that really who I am? I mean, if I look back in my childhood, is that really true? And what I'm going to do, since I didn't really show you my beautiful little PDF over here, is I'm going to actually give you guys a download that will show you each of the soul archetypes and what it looks like if they are in excess, deficient, or if they're in balance. And you're going to be able to see yourself in the makeup of all of that, because the truth is we have all 3 within all 4 directions. We are always going to be a little bit deficient, a little bit balanced, a little bit in excess in the west, and also in the east and north and the south. And the reason for that is that we are constantly moving and evolving. I'm not the same person I was 2 minutes ago or 3 days ago, and because of that, my energy is constantly moving. And I can give just a quick example of this. I know we're coming up on an hour, but what we do is we try to aspire to bring the wheel as close to balance as we possibly can. And then the universe has this great way of shaking everything up, because on the shamanic path, we walk in a spiral where we're constantly going through the life changes and evolution, and often the same kind of uh, lessons, but at a different level. We're going, if I'm experiencing pain here, I am experiencing it at this level of my being. The next time I experience pain, I will also have what I have accumulated in life growth and experience and tools, and I will deal with that pain differently, and so on and so forth. So for myself, I got to the point where my wheel was really, really balanced. I had maybe 2% deficient or excess in any of the directions, but for the most part, I was really balanced on all four directions. And I knew that my life, something was about to happen. I didn't know what it was going to be, but I knew something was going to happen, because once you get that balanced, in order to keep growing, you have to have a shake up. And so for me, it was the loss of my relationship. I walked away from a retreat center, a 7-year relationship, and all of that stability, everything that I had grown, and I walked away from it, because when I really looked at the macro, micro level of things of my life, uh, my south direction, my sacred heart warrior, my connection to the relationship was no longer sacred to me. And I wasn't being able to speak my truth. I wasn't feeling that was a sacred space for me anymore. And things started to unravel when I started to actually be honest about where I was in my relationship. And that blew the lid off, and I left, and I left all of my material belongings, and I left with really basically my car and a few suitcase full of clothes and my toolbox of all my shamanic stuff and my drum and my flute, and I left, and I went traveling for a year. I drove 34,000 miles just to figure out what that felt like, because that was my next calling. And in that year of traveling, I went from having a completely balanced wheel to now excess and deficient all over the place. I didn't have any place stable that I was living, because I was in a new place just about every 2 days. So there's no balance in the west direction. I didn't have a kitchen to create healthy food. I had a cooler that barely held ice for 2 days. So healthy food, I was eating out all the time. So that's west direction. I had no structure. That's east direction. I was alone, so my relationships were very strained, and that's south direction. I did, however, learn how to listen to my intuition. I learned to listen to that inner voice. I really reconnected to my higher self and to my guides. And as the year progressed, all of those directions began to come back into fullness and balance, but at a very, very different level. I am nowhere near the person I was a year ago, because I allowed that unraveling to happen. I allowed for my whole life to implode so that I could rediscover who I was at that very, very deeper level. And my wheel still is not balanced. I still have a lot of deficiency in the West, because I'm living in Ohio, and that's not a place that I ever thought I would return to. It's my home state. But the South energy, sacred relationship, is why I'm here, because my family is here and they need me. And I want to be with my sister, who is now a potter, who is not working as a teacher, who is absolutely a joy to be around. And I love building that relationship with her. My brother is in a marriage that is strained, and his daughter is the light of my life, and I want to be there as she comes into her teen years. I want to be that voice in her head that says, that is the most beautiful flower I have ever seen. And I can't believe that your boyfriend broke up with you. How do you feel about that? And I want to be that for her. And my mom, who is getting older and is my heart rock, she is my soulmate. I want to be here in those years where I don't have any regrets. And so, yeah, my west can be blown out. It's okay because I'm living right here in the south direction. I'm building those relationships because that's important. And then when I feel the time is right, that west direction will come in and I will figure out where it is that I want to live. And it might be here. I don't know. I doubt it. But for now, this is okay. And that's when you have that understanding of the medicine wheel, you learn how to negotiate and work with that energy. And where you learn that it's okay if that's out of balance, that's all right. You know, because I got this going on right now. This is my focus. So before I stop talking, I'm going to ask one question, and that is, do any of you have any questions right now? Or comments? Rochelle.
How long is the cycle of the medicine wheel? Does it cycle similar to an astrological chart, like 7, or no? Is it just used sort of? Is it like a template or so?
It's like it's a template. So you can, the medicine wheel, the directions are happening every day. So the morning is east, afternoon is south, and the west is the like dusk area time. And then Soul Shaman, north direction happens at nighttime, dream time. And then it happens seasonally. Spring is east, summer is south, autumn is alchemist, west direction, winter is north. And then it happens within our lifespan. So childhood is east, early adulthood is south, your later years, midlife is in alchemist, west direction, and your elder years are in the north direction.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's,
wow, there's so many connections to so many things.
yeah, there is. And so what's really cool about the medicine wheel is that you can also use it as a template for your day. I do that a lot. Like when the morning is east direction visionary, that's very mental. Mm-hmm. So that's when I do a lot of my writing and coursework and
I see that. Yeah.
And then in the afternoon is when I'm doing a lot of nurturing self-love. So I might go work out or go out in nature, take a hike, or if it's warm out, I'll go kayaking, things like that. It's also where I build those relationships. So I'll make phone calls or connections, etc. And then in the evening, I keep track of gratitude, like reflect on my day, or I think about what I'm going to need to do tomorrow, and how did I do on my boundaries today. I also take care of my physical body, so make sure I have a good healthy meal, get ready for tomorrow's meals, things like that. And then at nighttime, I will do some kind of ritual or something before bed that's going to connect me to my guides. I might do a meditation, I might do some dream intention work, or I might read some spiritual something. I'll do something that has to do with my spiritual body. And so kind of create these little rituals throughout the day that fit into the medicine wheel.
That's very important. It's ritual and routine. And I'm sorry, I have one more question. Is I believe, because you said you start in the east, which the first hour of the day is the most productive. And I want to say I recall you assigning maybe east to air. Is that right?
Yeah.
So so then south would be water, north would be
earth.
Yeah.
And west is fire.
Yeah.
So west is transformation.
Fire.
Yeah, so that's fire.
Okay.
And water is emotion. So, and then, you know, in your afternoon, you want things to kind of flow easier, and you've kind of warmed up to the day, and you're nurturing either your work or your relationships. But also, like for me, sometimes I haven't done this lately. When I was on the road, I used to do this a lot. But in the afternoons, I would take 5 minutes to tap into my emotional body. What am I feeling right now? just so that I got into that habit of feeling the feeling, feeling the emotion, instead of glossing over it.
Yes,
Keeping
feeling
it,
it through.
keep plowing through it.
One more. So the north would be earth, right?
Hmm.
So that would totally make sense. And that you're saying that that would be your night. That's whenever you do spiritual practices. That's when you're grounding
Yeah, you want to be
that
grounded.
energy.
Yeah,
Yeah, of your daily growth.
exactly. Yeah, every
Yeah, yeah. Thank
it's
you.
very important to be grounded in your
Yeah,
spiritual.
I really like that whole perspective because I know I'm all of them, I believe, but I have that Aquarian,
Yeah.
but a lot of I have all of it, but I need order. You know
Yes.
what I'm saying? Because I have so many ideas and things in so many places. So
So
this,
that right there, when you say you need order and you've got all these plans and ideas, that's East energy.
yes, it's
And
how I'm like I have a grand air trine. I'm like, yeah, I'm just all yeah, yes,
because sometimes if you like if you're looking at your percentages and you have a lot of uh, like let's say you have a lot of air energy, East energy, you want to pull in some of the North energy to ground yourself. Or
yes,
if you have
that's what.
water energy, you might want to pull in some of that North energy. But you find ways to balance yourself. Like if you're, I can very easily get sucked into my work and become a workaholic.
Me too. Me too.
None of you on the mentorship laugh.
Me too. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
So I,
yeah,
yeah, I need to actually
I
just
need to focus on the South too, like you. Exactly. That's where I am. Yes.
like today, for me, today is a very good example. My, my, because of what's going on in my work right now, I really would love to spend the entire afternoon working, but I'm forcing myself into the south direction to go have dinner with my family.
That's how I am because naturally it's like I want my mental mind wants to be engaged, but like my ascending sign is Cancer, which is mother, and that is that that's me. So it is it you have to find that center.
You do have to find the
But
center.
I know where I'm pulled. Yeah. Yeah, this is all it's wonderful. Thank you.
Good. Any other questions? Sherry, Leanne, Sherry.
In the chat box. I don't know if you can see that or not, but Celeste had a question, and Emily also.
Oh, okay. Do you deactivate your medicine wheel and reactivate it with your new intentions for every season? Um, oh, you mean like your physical, Where are you, Celeste? Where is Celeste? Why am I not seeing Celeste? Is she gone?
She's on the phone.
Oh, okay. I don't see the phones here.
Hi.
So, hi, how are you? Oh, there you, okay.
Good. Sorry, yeah, my video, I have it off, but
Okay.
yeah, so I was trying to get chat.
So you're talking
Yes, the
about
physical.
the physical medicine wheel. You can,
Yes.
for me personally, well, I don't have a physical medicine wheel in my yard right now, but I would actually do it. I would cleanse the wheel, but part of walking that spiral is actually bringing forward all the lessons and things that you have accumulated in your lifetime. And so, not necessarily deactivating it, but adding to it and encouraging the growth, but also the new additions and what the previous has informed you or taught you, and bringing that energy forward also. And if there's energies that you need to let go of, you can certainly do that.
Okay.
And that's my personal thing. For each person, that may be an individual answer. If it feels better to you to deactivate it and start fresh, then do that. Sometimes starting with a clean slate kind of gives us that permission to recreate from the bottom up and not be so cluttered. And I think that's dependent on whether you're whatever kind of soul archetype you lead with. That's one thing I really didn't get into in this class, and actually for those of you on the mentorship, we'll talk a lot about this in the East direction, is how you show up and different people show up to an event or something that's happening in your life is dependent on your soul archetype. So if 4 of us are experiencing the exact same thing, we're going to have 4 different experiences, 4 different interpretations, because based on your soul archetype is how you're going to take that energy. And so for somebody who has a medicine wheel, and I'm using this as an example here, Celeste, is that if you're a sacred heart warrior, most often you have an attachment to the relationship. And so building on top of that or adding to it feels better. But for a visionary, that doesn't necessarily feel that great. A visionary likes to have clean slates, likes to kind of start from the bottom up and build and see how have that creation unfold. And then for an alchemist, they want to transform it. So they may take what they already have and just transform it, not add to it, but just transform it in a way that makes sense to them. And then for a soul shaman, they may like see it as it is and say, you know what, this is how it is, but maybe my energy has changed and I'm reconnecting to it at a different place. So you've got one medicine wheel and 4 different ways to kind of come at that, dependent on your soul archetype. So that's just one example.
Thank you. Yeah. We, my kids and I, we got involved in it outside, and it was really fun. And this last season, I was actually the Sacred Heart Warrior. This last season, I activated it, and then when I took your test yesterday, I actually came up as Soul Shaman. As I'm kind of thinking, it's like I'm balanced in the North, and I'm more excess in North, and so. And so I smudged it, and then the kids and I helped like rearrange some of the rocks, change things up, and then I set my new intentions for this next cycle. And I did thank the previous cycle, but I think the step I did miss was bringing what I did learn with me and releasing what I no longer needed. So that was really, I appreciate you mentioning that. I think I did forget that step. I felt like I was like, okay, this is like more, you get more involved, hands-on. It's part more, I do a lot more other stuff with the wheel, but I like that you mentioned that other step. I think that would be helpful going forward. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for asking that. And then Emily's asking, how can you be balanced and deficient and excess at the same time in each direction? That's a great question. I get to ask that a lot. So I'll give you an example. Let's go with the example of so if you are codependent and you don't exhibit a lot of self-love, and let me back up here a second. Codependency is kind of a symptom of a lack of self-love or a lack of connection to your higher self. And so the lack of self-love becomes a deficient in the south direction because there's not enough energy there for you. But the codependency becomes an excess. Now you're putting too much energy into the south, into the relationship part of the south. And so you're becoming defined by the relationships, etc. And when you have that scenario going on, sometimes what will happen is that you will give up your own dreams because you're codependent and you're pushing energy into your relationships external to yourself. And giving up your own dreams and identification then becomes a deficiency in the East. And maybe there's not the ability to really speak what you need or speak what you want or speak your truth. And so that becomes a deficiency in the East. And then as time goes on, and like let's say in Mary's scenario, she's getting to her later years and she's saying, what the hell did I just give up all my life? She turns to alcohol and pushes some of that energy in there because she's worn out giving so much energy away. She doesn't love herself. She's given up her dreams. So now she pushes energy into the West, and that becomes, when you start absorbing into addictions, that's an excess energy in the West. And so that's how there's this dance that's happening. And all of those scenarios creates a deficiency in the North no matter what, because you're not connected to your higher self and to your spiritual body. Because if you were, you wouldn't be in that situation completely. So one thing that can create all of that imbalance throughout the wheel. And at the same time, let's say that that same person who is not exhibiting self-love and is also codependent may actually be really creative and love to dance and move and listens to their intuition, because most codependent people are very, very intuitive. They're very empathic. And so that's part of what feeds that codependency, because they can't anticipate what other people need even before they do. So that tapping into your intuition and that love of movement and things like that, that's a very balanced energy of the self. And so that's one example where you can have all three in one direction and how they affect the energies in the other directions as well. And so part of that would be, let's say that that particular person one day says, you know what, enough is enough. I'm not going to give. I'm going to actually put myself on the front burner now, and I am going to begin loving myself. So now that deficient energy starts to rise up and become a little bit more balanced. And in doing that, they become a little less codependent. They start speaking their truth, and they start creating some boundaries, and they stop drinking so much, because that's part of self-love. And then they reconnect to their higher self. And in that one little act of self-love, you've just taken all of this deficient, imbalanced energy and excess energy and made it more balanced. And so sometimes we have an energy assessment test that you can take, and it's quite lengthy, and some of you took it yesterday, that and it takes a little bit of time to take, but it shows you all of that deficient, excess, balanced energy. And a lot of times I'll see people where it'll be blown out all over the place. They get really depressed, and they're like, oh my God, I've got so much work to do. But when you look at it, it takes one or two things to like have a domino effect to transform all of that energy into something different. It really, it doesn't take a huge amount of awareness, just a little bit of awareness to really make that big difference. Emily, you're testing that up to 100%. That is true. Because there's actually 3 different percentages for every single direction. So you end up coming up with, what does that come out to, 120%? When you're in the mentorship, you take that test, and we actually take all of those and we divide it into the 4 directions, and we make each direction 100% to show you what percentage per direction. I don't know if that makes sense or not. It makes a little bit more. We can't do that for just anybody who takes a test, because Sherry actually is the genius who created this way to compute it all mathematically. And it actually is really brilliant, but it takes a lot of work to make one report for each person. So, and actually that gives me a reminder, those of you in the mentorship, make sure you take that test this week before we actually start the work, so that we have a baseline. And that's what we do at the beginning. We take a baseline, and then at the end, we take it again to see how that energy has shifted by the work that we did in that direction. So when you take it not as a mentorship person, now you can order the test. We have it for sale, I think $29.95 to get the report. That will show you the 100% in each direction. And that kind of makes it a little bit more, makes more sense. I'm limited on the form. Terry.
I just, I'm sitting here kind of amazed at, I am in the mentorship, as some of you know, and I'm amazed at how every time we come together, there is a new gem and truth that comes out. And sort of what I really am sitting with right now is this awareness that of how I bring my ego to this medicine wheel work. And so I recently did the test, I think 2 days ago, and I was pretty balanced. And I was like, oh, look at that. Life's perfect. I'm pretty balanced. I'm so evolved. What a great human I am. But I realize in what I've heard today from you is that it's not about being balanced.
No.
It's about working and walking the wheel, of being aware of it and using it or aligning with it in your life. And who really cares if you're balanced? What matters is that you're aware of it, and that I'm aware of it, and I'm actively walking that path and using it. I don't like the word using it, but walking that path. So, wow, thank you. That I can get rid of that pride around being so balanced this time around, and it does change every time you take it. You're in a different place, and if I took it today, it might even be different. Who knows? But thank you for that.
You're very welcome, and you are a very wonderful, good, beautiful person. You started out with. You know what, though? And I'm glad you bring that point up, because I think a lot of people have this misconception that we are working towards nirvana, or to be the perfectly balanced person who doesn't have anything bad happen to them, and all this illusion around that. And that's, in my world, that's just not truth. I mean, I think everybody can attest on here that the greatest teaching moments you've ever had is when you've been raked over the coals, or you've had everything stripped from you, or you've been writhing in pain. But very seldom do we, learn the greatest treasures in our life when we're surrounded by a white picket fence and the Beaver Cleaver family. I mean, it sounds nice, but really it's kind of boring. And it's not reality. The reality is that we are striving towards balance, but we are always living, breathing the wheel. And as long as we're in awareness, we have that fluctuation. And as long as there's movement in your wheel, you're good. If there's the stagnant ones are the ones that need to watch out, because that means you're not aware, you're not moving, you're not doing anything. You're just stuck in that spot. And, I think that there's value in being able to actually even speak what you just said, to be able to actually verbalize that, the pride and the ego, because we have that conflict always between ego and spirit. And there's some forms of thought that say you need to get rid of ego, you need to be of no ego, and all this stuff. But the ego is what informs our world. That's what the third dimension is all about. And so it's very important to have that balance between the two. The ego is what allows you to actually speak your truth. It's in the east direction. It gives you the ability to be confident if it's a balanced ego. So you just exhibited a very balanced ego.
Thank you. Yeah, I learned that it's not about squashing ego or getting rid of ego. It's really about partnering with ego and letting spirit lead and bringing ego along. So ego's there to keep me safe and to sort of check things for me, but spirit always has to lead. And so I work to just, come on, ego, let's go, and not hate it, not be mean to it, but to really bring ego along.
Exactly. And in the true, just a second, Sherry, the ego, because it's in the east direction, it's that masculine side of ourselves. When we befriend it, the ego allows us to go over into the west and create those boundaries for ourselves. That says, you know what? No, I deserve better than that. I don't deserve to X, Y, and Z. I'm going to create a boundary because my energy is worth that. And so befriending the ego, it's a collaboration between ego and spirit. Yeah, and it's the danger that I see often in the spiritual world is that there's this denial that happens of materialistic and ego, kind of that east-west vein, and they want to go north-south. And what you're seeing right now, this has been, how many of you are familiar with what happened with John of God, and also, is it a movie? No, what's his name? South American, he's a really big, huge spiritual guru. Oh, it's on the tip of my tongue. Anyway, these two really huge gurus who have formed these amazing followings of millions and millions and millions of people, and they all put them on this pedestal. And so they're like in this bubble of north direction energy. I am the guru. I am your link to God. I am your link to spirit. Follow me. Do this. Kiss my feet. People kiss their feet. And just this week, or actually, well, this last week and then this last couple months, what's been uncovered is this huge sex abuse scandal. Both of them have raped hundreds and hundreds of women and have abused those relationships. And so, in the sanctity of that position and denouncing of the ego and the materialistic and using that spiritual whatever ideal that they are, went down into that south direction and abused their sacred relationships with others, and violated the boundaries, the west direction of many, many people. And so it all came crumbling down. And so what I'm saying with that really is that this relationship that we can form between ego and spirit is really important to remember, to keep both in balance. Because if one's not in balance and we live so much in the other one, this one will have this little piece that will start unearthing itself in really destructive ways. It'll be like that. You're this really spiritual, beautiful, airy, flowy person, but you're the one that's screaming, "You mother," in traffic and cutting people off, or writing. Here, I'll give you like a little. This is a little confession here. Here I am in this beautiful bubble. This is what I teach. I live spiritual work. I got so angry at Trump that I created a fake Twitter account just so that I could go in there and leave messages to Trump saying what an asshole he was and how much I hated him. I haven't been there in a while, but it was the way for me to bring a balance somehow to that part of me that's so entrenched in the third dimension, and then still be in that ego part. Now, if I were wanting to be a guru, I would never admit that, but whatever. Everybody hates Trump. Most people. So anyway, we have these dark sides of ourselves that we have to also befriend in all of that. Sherry, sorry.
I was going to say on the ego, Rochelle had a question earlier about, are the directions associated with specific ego wounds?
Yeah, they can be. And kind of when you go through, like that story I went through in the beginning, kind of shows some of the wounds that we get, the relationship wounds, the wounds to our ability to love ourselves and things like that is all south direction. The wounds of even just dreams giving up and all of that, that's east direction. Spiritual shaming, that's all north direction. So yeah, there's wounds that happen throughout per direction that are associated with those energies. But one thing to importantly remember is that when we do soul recovery, we can recover parts of our soul regardless of where, what direction they're in. And oftentimes those soul pieces that leave have pieces in each direction that we're recovering. So, anything else?
Dakota?
Yeah.
I just wanted to thank you. I don't know if am I showing up here?
Yes, you are, Paula.
You can hear me. Okay. I just wanted to thank you because for this extra time, Friday and today, and probably Tuesday I'll be there. I just got these amazing aha moments. Thank you, Terry, as well.
Good.
I just feel like I walk away a better person.
Thank you.
No, thank you.
No,
So,
really, thank you.
And I get to walk. I just walked for an hour and a half with my dogs. Thank you.
Oh, good. Good, good, good. See, your dog's very happy.
Yes. Have a good week, everyone, and I'll see you Tuesday.
All right. Thanks, Paula. Paula's done a very good balanced wheel thing right now. She's taking a spiritual course, north direction. She's walking, west direction. She's making relationship with her dogs, south direction. And she's learning new things. That's east direction. There we go. All right. So anything else before we go? Terry.
Are you going to give out the coupon code today?
Oh, yeah. We do have a coupon code, don't we? What is it?
I will post it in the chat room here.
Okay. Yeah, we are opening up enrollment for the mentorship this week, like I said, and we kind of decided actually to do a coupon code starting today that will end
That's not good.
on the 22nd. And that gives a discount if you want to enroll. And that's kind of like a special thing for anybody who watches this class. After the 22nd, it'll be full price. And we have two different ways you can join. And anybody here that's on the mentorship want to give like a little, like, why are you here on the mentorship? What has it done for you?
I'll share.
Who's that? Paula.
Paula. I'll share because I literally had no idea who Dakota was 30 minutes before I signed up for the class. And I did it. I saw her stuff on a friend's Facebook post. I looked at it and I was like, oh my God, that is exactly what I've been looking for, to just sort of tie together the pieces of everything I've been doing all my life.
Yeah.
And I questioned. And I sort of clicked off it and I was like, oh my God, no, you can't do that. And then I went back to it like in less than 5 minutes and I just said, do it. Just do it. You won't regret it. And I did it. And I have not regretted it. Like, the insights that I have learned, the stuff that I can use with my kids, myself, my clients, has been amazing. And it's just like soul forming stuff. So that's my story. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Paula. So you're starting your second direction with us.
Yes.
Yes.
And I'm so glad, because I initially said, oh, I'm just going to click up. I'll do the north direction. And if I like it. And then I was like, don't do that. Just dive in a mile deep. And I dove.
Good for you.
So
yeah,
thank you.
and actually diving in that mile deep, you get a lot of extra courses with it, plus the meditation club, and you get all kinds of stuff. We do a monthly workshop for the Wisdom Keepers.
I've done a lot of that, and I'm looking forward to these next couple of weeks before the East starts to do some more, which has been fun.
Yes, we keep you busy, that's for sure.
Exactly.
There's not a lack of substance in the mentorship. I have to forewarn people that you'll have a lot that yeah. I think what the first class was 27 pages. I still have not finished recording that class because there were so many pages. Recording it audibly. Denise? Thank you, Paula.
I am the east direction will be my last direction. I'm going to go around again, but I think that it's done so much for me. But one thing that hasn't been mentioned is the community.
Oh, yeah.
The community here is worth its weight in gold.
Yeah.
It's not whatever is worth more than gold, because we will form relationships, south direction, right? We will form these relationships that are so very important, and we get these little bits of information that we can't get in the 2 hours with you, or something comes up and then we go on Slack, and I mean, it's just, this is an important thing.
It is really,
really important thing.
I really sometimes wonder if half the people stay because of the community and not me. The community is amazing, and we have really absolutely formed this beautiful sacred space, and it's global. We've got like 20 some countries represented in the mentorship. It's really beautiful. And I'll go on Slack is the community, the platform that we use to keep the conversations going when we're not in class. I'll like not be in there for a day, and I'll go in and there's like 5 new pages of conversation. Like I can't even keep up. So it is beautiful. Yeah. I have one superpower that I'm really super proud of, and that is that I attract the most amazing people into my life. And that includes the mentorship. I feel very lucky. All right. Anything else?
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
I'm glad you're going to be going around again. Yeah. Actually, there's a few of you on here that are on your second, third round. So I think it gets deeper and better each time. Yeah. And talk about longevity with community. I mean, there's a good handful of people, more than a handful, that have traveled now for 2 years together, 2, 3 years. And so that bond is really, really strong. And I've noticed a few people here who have taken a break from the mentorship that are on the call. Jackie, it's good to see you again. And yeah, I love seeing that where former mentorship people are still coming in and tapping in. And we had some that took a break and then came back. And it's a growing thing. So anyway, I appreciate all of you. There is a coupon code in the chat box that Sherry put in there. It's NVM, which is navigating. Are you sure it's NVM? Or did I create that wrong?
That's what Leanne just told me to remind you of.
Oh, really? Why did I name it NVM?
I don't know, but we can put it at the end of we'll check it and put it at the end of this video.
Yeah, we will.
Yeah.
After the replay. Yeah, /live 19. And that gives you $50 off the single session price and or something like that. I can't remember. We did the math. $80 off the Wisdom Keeper, something like that. So, and this is a reminder to, and I have sent so many emails out, but those of you on the mentorship who are renewing, you need to do your renewal price because they get a better price. You need to do your renewal price before the end of today because that ends, and if not, then you get to use this coupon, so your discount won't be as much. So, just a little forewarning. Anyway, Tuesday is the next call, and I promise to not be so emotional and long-winded, or maybe I will be. I don't know. Whatever spirit calls at that moment. So thank you so much for being here, and I will, if you have any questions that pop up between now and then, send them to us and we'll answer them on Tuesday. We're going to do a really good Q&A on Tuesday about medicine wheel and mentorship and all that good stuff. So I will see you guys then. Have a good weekend and do something really fun today.
Thank you, Dakota.
You're welcome.
It's been really good.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Bye. Bye.
Bye.